still. Ignore the heading for a minute. We're going to change it in a second, but I just need to get situated here. This place is a mess because I've not streamed in well over a week, I think, at this point. Wasn't planning to either. I have a beach trip I'm going to on tomorrow to try and deal with stress. Have a try to get this in proper alignment. I have a, gosh, I hope this is live right now. I can't see the messages on here. It would really suck if they didn't. Anyway, so I haven't been on here in a while. I was just went up and down the stairs like 5 times, so I'm a little out of breath and a little angry. I had to go up and down the stairs 5 times because I kept forgetting something. And I'm dealing with heartburn right now. So, we'll get into why I'm here in a second. That's why we're not on the reaction screen yet. We're just on the camera screen. Gosh, I hope this thing is live. I can't see any of my messages from here. So, I've not been on in a little bit because I'm in the middle of grad school classes and jobs. And it's, you know, the spring semester for preschool, so there's a lot of stuff they have to. I've had a lot of subbing. I've had a lot of things I've had to jump in on. And a lot of times I'm just tired when I come home. If I'm not working, I'm crocheting. If I'm not crocheting, then I'm doing classes, and so it just kind of, I don't end up with a lot of time. Like, you know, the last time I streamed, I think it was like maybe last Tuesday, maybe the week before that. I don't even know. It was a while ago, is the point, and I just had a lot of assignments I had to focus my energy on, so I didn't have time to stream. I couldn't in good conscience stream when I knew I had assignments I need to work on. And I'm enjoying the class. It is. I'm studying, you know, it's studies in fiction. I'm learning how to be a better storyteller. I'm really enjoying the story I'm building for this class. But, I get tired. That's it. I just get tired. And, I'm gonna have to, when I switch the thing over, I'm gonna see if I can figure out why the chat's not showing up, because I have no idea if there's anyone watching or listening or anything like that, because I can't see the chat. That's the other thing. I haven't been on this in like over a week. The computers in our houses have gone through like 3 different updates. Looks like Prism went through which is my recording software, went through an update as well, so I had to re-log into things. I originally, if anyone was watching this on Twitch, I went live for like 3 seconds, then immediately went off because I realized my thing through YouTube wasn't connected because they did some update through Prism. So, and also when I went to reconnect it, like, they couldn't find the capture card, it couldn't find the microphone. So, love doing that. But such is life with technology. You leave it alone for a week and it decides it runs completely differently already. I mean, there's so much that's changed around here. I've got like lots of new plushies around me that weren't here before. Like, you know, finally got myself an Umbreon. They had released an Umbreon and Espeon, Comfy Friends, which are my favorite series from Pokemon Center. So I finally own an Umbreon plush. It's my favorite Pokemon, but I don't have any Umbreon plushes, oddly enough. It's actually more because Umbreon sells out everywhere. It's like everyone's favorite Pokemon. There's my sister in the background.
Turn off this light.
She's home for spring break, so she's just hanging out. I got my Espeon plush over here. That's a new addition to this area. Lots of things have changed since here. I'm just trying to keep track of everything, so they're hanging out right now. I mean, I got some new Squishmallows. I got Eevee Squishmallows. Oh yeah, Olivia got a haircut. That was another update since Olivia's, that actually happened like a week or 2 ago, but, you know, she's been at school. She actually got the haircut Madeline typically has, but yeah, Madeline and my mom do look a lot alike. So yeah. It's strange. It took a while for me to get used to too. I also have a new Chansey Squishmallow over here. Lots of new plushes around here. Let's see. I think I already sold the other Pokemon ones. Oh yeah, I just got this one yesterday. In Target, they're magnets connect in their noses that make them kiss. Isn't that adorable? Just saw these for Valentine's Day in Target, and I'm like, gotta have those. They're so cute. Look at them. That's my newest addition here. it also brings us to the reason we're here right now, the reason why the day before we're heading out on a beach trip weekend, when I was just going to be like, okay, I'll come back and start streaming after the beach trip because, I'll be over halfway through with my classes by then. I should hopefully be able to, get back into the swing of things. I'll take a moment to relax and break. But today, the first official trailer for Lilo and Stitch, the live action movie, dropped. And I did watch it preliminarily. That's why I'm here. And I just had thoughts about it. So this isn't, necessarily a first reaction, but it's still a reaction of sorts. And also that was like a couple hours ago, and I, again, watched it after coming out of the shower. So I wasn't really looking at it to analyze for details. This time I'm going to try and do that. But, yeah. In case you can't gather, or you're new to the channel, I'm a big Lilo and Stitch fan, as I wear my Stitch shirt. And you can't see, but I got my Stitch pants on. This is my water bottle. My backpack, I hold all my yarn in. You can't see it, I'm laying on 3 separate Stitch blankets. One of which was made by my grandma. 2 of which are from the store. I have my Gamer Stitch charm over here. A half a dozen Stitch toys around me, and Squishmallows of varying kinds. Obviously the one I just showed you. Yeah, Stitch was Lilo and Stitch. That's why we have to make the specification Lilo and Stitch, not just Stitch. A lot of people I guess the one positive thing about this movie coming out is people remembering that it's Lilo and Stitch, not just Stitch. I mean, Stitch is cute. I love Stitch. Clearly, but he's the marketable one, so he's the one that Disney does things with. I'm like, no, Lilo's I remember even, I was thinking back on when I first watched the movie, and even back then, I loved Lilo and Stitch the movie. I thought Stitch was cute, and I'd like to try and draw Stitch. But I always liked Lilo more as a character, because I related to her very strongly. I don't know if, what audience I'm speaking to, and people have watched Lilo and Stitch or not. I guess at this point it's kind of an old movie. But, Lilo is, very strongly autism coded. And, namely, I was exactly like her as a kid. Especially in the, I have my special interests in these things I love. And I'm trying so hard to make friends. But for some reason, they're all just mean to me. I had my own clique of girls in elementary school that, Lilo has in the movie. That just, you try to be friendly with, you want to be part of. And it literally was a group of 3 little girls who are just mean. They had one leader in, a group. I literally lived out what happens to Lilo in the movie. So I could relate with her so strongly, and I so much wanted, again, a Stitch to come and just be my friend. That didn't happen, but it was also, that's the reason I found comfort in this subject. That's why it's a very near and dear movie to my heart. I remember I first watched it, I had to come home from school. I think I had a fever or something. And so I was just lying on an armchair, and this movie had come out recently, I think, but my dad put it on TV. So I'm sitting there, drinking Kool-Aid or Gatorade or whatever it is they do when you have a fever, and just laying there. And I watched this movie, and it was actually, I missed the first 15 minutes of a show, but I remember watching this movie. And I don't even remember it making that much of an impact on me right away. But it was then, the second one, the Stitch the movie, was the one I really, got into, and then went back to watch the first movie a lot. And I watched that movie a lot. And I just connected to it so strongly. And I would definitely say I was a Lilo and Stitch super fan. I don't think I'm quite, the level of, Disney adult sort of fan. To where it's getting, a little crazy. But I'm it was a special interest for me. It was a comfort thing for me. It was something that made me feel seen. I was Lilo for Halloween. Carrying, my Stitch around. Going to the Disney store was great, because I could maybe get a new, Lilo and Stitch toy. Lilo and Stitch the series was out at the time, with all the experiments. Experiments was my, first big word I learned how to spell. This is an incredibly formative series to me. It's incredibly important to me. And I'm also not beyond the point of thinking that, there's no way to improve upon it. Because, Lilo and Stitch, Stitch the movie, Lilo and Stitch, Lilo and Stitch 2, all the movies, I rank them differently. And Lilo and Stitch itself, I don't know if I would put it at the top. I think Stitch the movie is still my favorite of all of them, because it does what a good sequel does. It already has established the characters, so it can just go off and have fun. well, Lilo and Stitch is doing some more, like, emotional stuff with it, and Stitch the movie is just kind of like fun stuff, hijinks and actions, and introduces my favorite experiment, that being Sparky, but I still use that for, like, a lot of my, like, usernames. When I couldn't use, like, Dustlugia, I would use Sparky, like, something or another. So it was a very near and dear series to me, but I'm also not beyond the fact of, like, remaking it or redoing it, or, like, if you really love a series, you're willing to see it in new forms. That's why, even though I don't love Lilo and Stitch 2, it's a sequel that takes place right after Lilo and Stitch, but before Stitch the movie. It's weird because it's the fourth movie, but it's technically second in the timeline. And I largely just didn't like that one as much because they changed the little girl who does Lilo's change, so she just sounds different. It's a little hard to grapple with at times, but I still enjoyed it for what it was, So I'm not opposed to Lilo and Stitch necessarily changing in some form, as long as it's respecting where the material's coming from. But I've said before on this channel, whenever brought up, because I've had people before in the chat mention, like, Lilo and Stitch, the live-action movie, to me, and what I think I'm going to happen, and I'm like, I have no hope at all for the movie. I'll be honest. Seeing what, like, Disney, I'm going to just keep stroking my own brand, because that's my dealing with stuff right now. I've seen what they've done with live-action movies. The only one I thought that I was good was Maleficent, and that's because that's the only one that actually decided to do a different story, not just be a word-for-word remake. It is actually an alternate take of a source material, admittedly a very boring one too, because Sleeping Beauty's it's one of those movies that's like, this is a art piece, not an entertainment piece. It's a rather boring story, but at the time, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, I don't know if I count Cinderella there, because Cinderella does have more of a story and more of a heart to it, but, like, definitely Sleeping Beauty and Snow White are definitely the ones that are more about spectacle than they are about the storytelling. So, they are due for an update. That's why, like, the Snow White movie frustrates me, because, like, it is a movie that can do with an update. Just, I think they're doing it in really weird ways that, like, are unnecessarily dense. Like, you're asking for people to come after you with these choices, So, this Disney movie, when I saw them doing Lilo and Stitch, I'm like, first of all, there's obviously the question of how are they going to adapt the animated characters, namely the aliens. So that's my biggest concern was going into this. I did see one of them in here, and I'll discuss that a little bit when we get to that. After that is Stitch himself. Now, I have seen animations for him. He looks honestly fine. Not bad. I wouldn't say good either, though, but, like, it's no ugly Sonic, if that makes any sense. He still doesn't look as good as an animated character. He still looks... And unfortunately, he's still leaning a little too much into realism to look quite natural for me. Like, it's really the eyes. That's the biggest thing that they fixed in Sonic in order to make him look more natural, was that he's a cartoon character, so having the big eyes, the cartoonish features and mouth and features, having gloves on and stuff like that, the cartoony things made him ironically look more natural in the world. So there are just some things about Stitch that just look a little too realistic, that make him look just not quite right. I honestly would have liked if he was a little bit more vibrant blue. He's kind of, a duller tone of it. And that's honestly not even a problem with necessarily this movie. That's actually a problem I've had with Stitch merch for, like, the last year or two, when Stitch merch started, like, pumping out and the quality started dropping. Like, when I was a kid, like, it was hard to find stuff for Stitch, and it was all marketed to boys. Like, it was about the alien Stitch in his red prison outfit, and looking gross or fierce or scary and stuff like that. Now, and then, like, last 5-8 years, it's been a total switch of making him cute, which I do love him cute. But now it's like there's almost too much of it, where it's like, you forget that, like, oh, he's also a little monster. But, like, he's a cute little monster. And it's hard to have both at the same time. So that's the problem I will say is also with Stitch's design with Disney in general. But, like, when I watched it initially, the biggest thing I'm going to be looking at in this trailer, namely, is the thing that I always said is the biggest thing I do not think they can replicate with this movie. Is one of the themes they've really tripped so many times already with live action movies of even just replicating the quality of the themes and heart of the original movies. Obviously, Mulan is the most egregious example, but even in a couple other ones are things that they're like changing without really like thinking through the changes. Like I've seen a lot of like the Little Mermaid movie, and while I do think there were some things that are like, okay, were interesting or had potential to grow, they didn't ever quite commit to them, to truly building them into something new, or they made changes that were unnecessary. Like, you know, I think at the end of that, like, Ariel goes and defeats Ursula herself when originally in the original story, Eric saves her. And which was just kind of like made sense because she had been kind of like, you know, the one to be a very active heroine the whole movie, so it's nice that like he becomes kind of active in the plot, so the fact that she just saves herself kind of feels like, alright, then why did you even bother putting him in the scene? Like, that's the whole point, is that she saves him in the beginning, at the end he saves her. That's what makes their relationship, like, sweet. Whatever. And, like, you know, there's just changes in the other live-action movies, the Mufasa movie and how much that messed up in the timeline. The minor changes they made, and, like, you know, all the only one who's, like, had minor changes that I was okay with, actually, was the Beauty and the Beast live-action remake. I watched that in IMAX. I know a lot of people have issues with that movie. And I get if you're a super Beauty and the Beast fan, you probably have the same issues I do with this Lilo Stitch movie. But, like, I honestly didn't mind it. I thought the changes they made were reasonable, or the least changed things, and they didn't, like, it wasn't like they destroyed the character. You know, they didn't make Belle unrealistic or change her into something she wasn't already. And, like, you know, say what you will about the music or not, I thought the redesigns of the characters were an interesting take on it. I honestly thought it was interesting to make the Beast grouchier in the beginning, so it takes more for him to essentially become more prince-like later. Like, that's the only one of the remakes I can say I enjoyed, you know, besides, again, like, Maleficent. But, yeah, I am stalling at this point because I don't really want to watch this, but that's what we're here for, that's what we're here to do. We're gonna watch, we're gonna react. Where's my headphones? Like, let me get my headphones ready and set to go. I'm going to try and watch this through the first time, just to, you know, watch and react and stuff, and then after that I might go through a little bit slower to point out things that I noticed, but I watched this the first time, not closely, mind you, but, like, off my phone sort of thing. I watched this the first time, and the tone of the trailer did really bother me. Pardon me a moment while I make sure my headphones are on. Alright. Okay. Just want to make sure I can hear it. I'm going to switch to our view for a minute so you guys can see the screen a little bit easier. Got tea because my throat's been dry today. This would be just great if I caught a cold or something before I went to the beach. I also, though, do have a great track record with that, where I can either, like, be, like, sick or on my period at this time whenever I go near bodies of water. Like, if I go to a water park, if I go to the beach, if I go, like, overseas, like, I somehow can always manage to land that, so I would not be surprised if I get caught a cold right before I'm about to go on a beach weekend. But if I do, then, you know, I'll lay in the sun chair for the weekend. It's not the worst thing in the world. And let me just switch my camera view over here so you guys can see a little bit better. Alright, there we go. Switch that. See, this one I can see more messages. I don't know what's wrong with the other view. Whatever. Again, Prism updated something. I don't know what it changed. I can't tell. Anyway. Let me get situated here a minute. I'm just gonna send. And depending on how angry I get about all this, maybe I'll play something afterwards because I don't want to go to bed angry. Let me see. Alright. I also have to, I'm just gonna send out my, my message to my chat, and that being my family chat. Anyway, I'm braced. Anyone else ready to do this? Gosh, I'm so not looking forward to this. I'm just... Before I get into this, let me just make a few things clear. I don't want to hate this. Oh, yeah, another bit of Stitch thing I have. I even got little Stitch coasters. I got so much Stitch stuff. I'm not saying, like, I want this to be bad. Again. Oh, now we're going to wait for my dogs to stop barking. But I don't want this to be bad. I would love if another generation fell in love with Lilo and Stitch, not just Stitch. Because I wear Stitch shirts all the time, and some people don't know what character I have in my shirt, or they know what character I have in my shirt, but they have no clue who Lilo is. I want the story that I fell in love with and connected to as a kid for other people to, like, go and see. But the problem with the Disney remakes lately is that they have maybe the appearance, maybe they even have better technology or new songs, but they just, all of them have lacked the heart. They've lacked the sincerity. They have to make cheap jokes, they have to add rap sections, they have to be politically correct, there's a dozen little things that they're like, why did you even touch that? You had a good thing. You should have just updated the animation if you were doing a one-to-one remake, or do what Maleficent did and tell a new story with the same characters and world. And just... it makes you wish for something else. So, like, I'm not going to comment on certain things that I don't think they can do. Again, we'll see what we see in this trailer, but, like, before I said, like, biggest things that you can't replicate in live action are, like, you know, the watercolor backgrounds and artwork that really made the vibrant colors of Hawaii pop in the original movie. I'm not gonna rate them on that. It's gonna be a live action movie. If there's anything like any of the other Disney live action movies, they'll make it needlessly gray for whatever reason. Like the Little Mermaid movie was. Like, how did you turn something that's so bright and vibrant, like a coral reef, into so gray and blue? So I'm not gonna comment on. I'm gonna not try not to comment on, like, the color schemes, the backgrounds, the same feelings of this. I'm gonna try and just looking for story beats. Characters, besides Stitch, obviously. Just none of the other characters besides Stitch have been shown in teasers yet. And then just any sort of interesting things. I'm going to try and find something positive in this trailer. I really am. So, okay. Let's do this. Let me know if you can't hear it, but I did try and text the audio before we started, so hopefully it should be working. Space doesn't look bad. Okay, so that must be Lilo and Nani. They got the poster in the background. He's surprisingly small. That's David. Okay, that is kind of cute. Okay, that's a little cringy right there. He looks so weird from the side profile. There's Pleakley. Okay. So. Thoughts about that. I don't know if everyone heard that or not. I hope I How does everyone text me as soon as I'm on stream? Oh my gosh. 3 people just texted me. Anyway. I hope everyone could hear that, but so, yeah. I got some thoughts about that. So, I will say one thing. Again, the tone of this trailer feels, again, kind of like a lot of those insincere trailers where you're like, we're trying to do the funny, goofy kid thing to make the 5-year-olds laugh in the audience. That's why that one moment where he hits Nani in the face with the fridge, I'm like, oh, that's so cringe. Because I know where that scene's from. That's a scene, they do have an argument in the kitchen, and it has to do with, and to be fair, it's part of also another scene that I think was better done, which is about, like, Nani debating, like, what Stitch is, and, she argues with Lilo, and, like, we have to take him back, he's just a mess. Stitch, I will admit, Stitch does look, I won't say he necessarily as a model looks, I would say, cute, but his behavior is cute. Let me go find some moments in here I thought were interesting. Okay, so starting off here, I'm just gonna try and go slower. So, I will say the space stuff looks good enough. Like, you have the Grand Council's Starfleet here, the Space Cops. This is where Stitch originally is. He gets, he's considered dangerous, so they lock him up. I'm trying to go back. You have him in his little red suit here. I don't know why they removed the yellow. That's kind of weird. I'm trying to go, like, frame by frame here. Trying to get a better view of him. Okay. Yeah. You see, like, he's got red on his outfit here. His classic outfit, though, is red with, like, yellow patches on it. I don't know why they took those away. It's not a big deal. It's the red suit. People recognize that. But for me, it's kind of it's one of those little details that you're like, I don't know why you got rid of that. Does that really make it so much harder to animate because you removed the yellow patches on it? It also gives us, like, some nice color tone. Got the Grand Councilwoman here. She looks fine. The aliens look gross, but I also kind of expected that. Chris Sanders, who's the main animator of this movie, there's Stitch again. Chris Sanders, who's the main animator, let me see if I can go through this in, like, half speed. I'll turn the audio off. But let me see if I can go through this at, like, half speed and catch some of these shots I'm trying to look at. Let me turn off the volume for a minute. Okay. So here, let's see. Got Stitch there. Yep. Got Grand Councilwoman there. Trying to get some better pictures of these aliens. So, Chris Sanders' style was really quite revolutionary for Disney at the time, because Nani and Lilo are, like, if you look at them compared to most Disney females at the time, they are not thin, petite, with tiny wrists and long fingers. They have, like, they have the thick thighs, and they have, like, curved hips, and they have, like, thick arms. He drew things that had kind of a bulky, bulbous style to them. He does that as well with the aliens. There's no picture, obviously, of Jumba where here we do see briefly Pleakley. I'm going to have a comment about them in a minute. But, like, he had these kind of, again, these animals that all did look like these kind of, like, Australian things, like mammals, wombats, like, obviously Stitch looks like a koala. They have, like, but they had these kind of, like, gross appearance to them, which I was afraid was not going to look great in live action. It really doesn't, but I guess, to be fair, the original designs were kind of like that anyway. Like, the things chasing... that doesn't actually... Those look like robots. The things that are chasing... Like, a lot of the aliens, oddly enough, look like Australian animals. Like, the things that chase him look like a cross between, like, a kangaroo and a raptor. Like... So there he is with his ship. Nice. But like this guy on the edge, right? He looks like a walrus or something. But like, yeah, this guy is actually pretty close to realistic of what he looks like in the thing. The biggest issue I have with aliens and a lot of live action creatures is these eyes. You see how all of them have like these just huge black eyes? I'm kind of like, I don't know why that always is with creatures and like characters and aliens, why they always have huge black eyes. Why not huge blue eyes or huge orange eyes, or better yet, just like give them like anime like eyes, like animated eyes. Like they just look so like soulless to me. But that's fine. These characters aren't in the movie for very long. This chase, I mean, this, to be fair, this doesn't look bad. His thing is bright and red and vibrant. The laser bolts look bright green. That's the color they are, and then all the blue cruisers that are following him. This doesn't look bad. Yeah, Hawaii here, it doesn't at least look as dead as everything else. The water, at least, ironically, the water looks more blue than it does in Little Mermaid. So yeah, there. Let's see. There we go. Quick look of Lilo's room. This isn't bad. This is pretty close to her room. The biggest difference is that, normally her bed's in the center of the room. Like, right along this wall here. But this area in the back is very much like the movie. This large windows with the easel next to it and the hanging lights. Like, again, I know this movie front and back, so I can see all the details. Like, this is pretty good. This is the moment after, like, when, you know, I know this is the area where, like, Lilo and Nani have had a fight. And they came back together to, like, you know, connect again. And I know it looks like so much darker on you guys' stream than mine. But anyway. And then during that, while they're just making up and kind of hanging out, there's the shooting star that, like, Lilo goes to wish on, wishing for a friend. So here we have Lilo. I'll be honest, nothing wrong with this girl. She'll probably be fine. But maybe it's just me, but are humans just, why are they always just so inherently more ugly when you have to compare them to an animated character? Like, sometimes you can find people that really look like an animated character, but when you animate humans, you can just get so much more, like, character out of their designs, out of their angles and their features, more expressive eyes. And my biggest issue is that a lot of times throughout this trailer, I notice this girl, and she probably is fine. Again, I won't judge her acting because she is a child. But, like, I see this expression on her a lot throughout this trailer. This, like, agape face. And I'm kind of like, is that because she can't actually see Stitch because he's an animated creature and she doesn't know what she's acting to? Is that just because they cut the clips really weird? Like, I don't know, but she always looks like just confused or just surprised. And while that works in some scenes, there's other things where I'm just like, wow, unfortunately they really can't, because Lilo in the original movie is a very expressive girl. Like, and mind you, you can't tell, but Lilo is 5 years old in the original movie. She's 8 years old by the end of the franchise. But she's 5 years old in the original movie. And she is, again, I relate to her because she's a weird little girl. Like, you know, she's making voodoo dolls. She's making, like, she believes in, like, you know, she has an obsession, like, hyperfixation with Elvis Presley. She believes that, like, you know, fish that she feeds will change the weather, and there's a whole, like, sad story reason behind why she always feeds this one fish named Pudge, because he controls the weather, and there's actually a really sad, like, reason behind that, which makes the movie just so much better. And, like, you know, like, she has all these weird quirks and mannerisms, but she's also big and expressive. Like I said, Chris Sanders had an animation style that was, like, almost, like, a little ugly in a way. It showed you, like, these, again, big bulbous things, these, like, large teeth, and, like, you know, like, round noses, and, like, thick fingers. And this was so different from the Disney styles that before they had princesses that were dainty and petite and thin. And he was no thick, make them thick. Like, he had a whole, like, I have his art book, and he has, like, this whole section on, like, how to make the limbs on characters, and they can't be thin and petite and dainty. They had to be thick. They have some meat on them. They have to look like, you know, these people that live active lifestyles, you know, like, and these are also just normal people. You know, they have, like, natural proportions and stuff like that. We can kind of see Nani in the background here. I can't really see her very clearly. I don't really like her hair being up all the time, because again, the thing I loved about it is that both her and Lilo had these very, like, Lilo had straight hair. Nani's has a bit more volume to it. Clearly, it's something she got from one of her parents. But, like, Nani's constantly on the move, either chasing after Lilo or, like, you know, stressed at job or work. But her hair had so much movement to it, and it kind of gave you this idea of this kind of, like, active, strong, but yet frazzled older sister. And so, like, I like her hair's down here. Unfortunately, everywhere else in the trailer, it's pinned up. I don't really care for that, because then she looks a little too put together for me. But that's whatever. We'll go as we can. We see Stitch crashing to Earth here. And then here's her hula class. So, we have, and now, the interesting thing is that this should be at the beginning of the movie, because the first scene is Lilo late to hula class because she was feeding Pudge the fish. So, like, she ends up late to hula class, has to go sneak in, and then, you know, we see her dancing here. Clearly that must be Myrtle right there, her main bully. I had a Myrtle in my life. That wasn't her name, but I definitely had one of those little girls who, picked on me because I was the weird girl. And so she knocks over. But you see what I mean? Like, her face always just looks a little blank. Again, I'm not trying to be mean to the actress, you know. These are clips, not the full thing, but I'm just like, she seems to have this blank face a lot. Anyway, so that's hula class. Again, see though, she just says this, like, these, like, her eyes are expressing, but her mouth isn't, and that's weird to me. Like, a lot of the time she's expressing with her eyes. It's like, almost like covered the top of her face, I could see the motions, but then she always has this, like, she's just expressing with her eyes. And that's just, again, that's weird to me, because Lilo, again, because Chris Sanders styled, was like, she would hiss at people. She bit people when she got angry. She, like, would just, when she wanted her sister to stop carrying her, she would lick her arm. She had a lot going on with her mouth. Like, she was as much a little monster as Stitch was at times, and that's the reason they really worked together. So, again, I'm not going to comment too much more on Lilo, because there's not a lot to say about her in this trailer, to be entirely honest, based on the clips. So we have Stitch, this is a classic scene. He doesn't seem to have his uniform on. This is probably the truck driver that hits him. That's how he ends up in the dog pound. Let's see here. So this is Stitch. He's in the dog pound. This scene looks fine. So the biggest thing is, like, they actually have this poster in the movie. Not the original movie. And that's what Stitch bases himself off of. He's like, oh, I can pretend to be a dog. So I'm glad that they have this here. It's a nice little nod. Now, here's one of my biggest kind of things. Now, this will depend on if Lilo has multiple outfits throughout the movie. If she has multiple outfits, then this is great. I love the fact that they incorporate in the Hawaiian, because Lilo's well known for her red dress that has these Hawaiian white flowers on it. And that's her signature look. Like, they even make a joke about it at some point in the animated series, how she's worn the same red dress for 3 years. Like, they make, like, a self-aware joke about it, that she's, like, worn it every day for the last 3 years, and it's from her uncle or something. But, she doesn't only wear the red dress. She sometimes wears a green dress, and occasionally she'll wear different outfits depending on what's going. Like, so, if she has multiple outfits, I love the fact that they have this overalls outfit with the red, like, kind of the hint of the red dress, with the shirt and the white flowers. However, this is the only outfit that she wears, and they didn't want to give her a dress because lately Disney and Hollywood thinks that girls can't be girls and wear dresses and look pretty. You know, like, I don't love dresses, but I do like how they look sometimes. Now, she does have a more formal outfit somewhere that gives a nod to the red dress. Then I'll be happy. I'll be fine. However, this is the only outfit she wears throughout the movie. I'm just going to be a little on it. Especially because it's so short. Why is her overalls short? I'm trying not to hate on Lilo. I'm trying. I love her so much as a character. At least she is expressing a lot more in the scene. So we see Stitch. And to be fair, he does look adorable here. I do like him. Here. Nice. And so he jumps. He does his little thing where he picks his nose with his tongue. That's a classic Stitch thing. Again, doesn't look quite right because of this more real... Again, don't care for Nani's hair being up like this. Just gives her, like, less... I like the fact that Stitch is... Like, Stitch in the scenes looks probably menacing. I'm just worried that I haven't seen a lot of the heart yet of the movie, because making Stitch a menace is easy. That's something you can easily do for commercials and teasers and stuff like that. The thing that I don't think this movie will hit, because it clearly showed in a lot of other live action movies that they missed the deeper meaning of this, is that I'm afraid that this movie's going to lose a lot of its heart, and that Lilo's going to lose a lot of her weirdness, which is what made her so cool and different than a lot of the girls you would find in Disney movies occasionally. Stitch looks fine, honestly. He's acting the way he should. Maybe a little bit more menacing than I think he realistically should be, like, for people not reacting to it. Namely in this next scene. So, like, you know, they're sitting here. He's driving. I like that. He pulls him down. Nice, your truck. So I like the, you know, he's being a little menace. That's fine. This is the part that I'm, like, surprised that they just let him do. He throws it out the window, almost causes another car to crash. Like, I feel like they're almost underreacting to that. Like, that's the other thing that I have to be with, like, you know, Lilo, but also with Donnie here. I'm like, it's because, granted, he's an animated character, so that always just make kind of a little weird for live action movies, and, like, how can you actually react to, like, a character that isn't there? It's always a little bit of a tricky situation. But, like, they don't react at all. At the very least, when, like, you know, Stitch did crazy things in the original, Lilo would be like, yeah, this is so cool, look at my crazy dog. And here she's just kind of like, oh, no, it's fine. Like, she's not necessarily, like, she's kind of, like, underreacting almost. Like, not, like, in Nani 2 should be a little bit, like, she's not bothered with the fact that, like, he just did that. Like... Again, it's clip. There could be more. It's hard to tell scenes out of context. I do like this, and this is, I'm guessing, Nani working at her day job, because Lilo's got her pad and her crayons, and she's putting him in a high chair. That's David right there, Nani's boyfriend. I do like this little thing, because that's just funny. So we see David there again. And again, the way that Lilo just reacts sometimes in some of these clips makes me feel like these clips have to be, like, spliced and weird and out of order, because sometimes her reactions just seem so muted at times. Or they just seem like they're not quite, like they're reacting almost too slow behind the scenes. So here we have the one of him hotwiring the car. This is where he goes and steals Myrtle's car, like her little toy car, and steals, like, Lilo with her. So these are the bullies here. I assume that must be Myrtle, but the whole idea is that what happens is that, you know, they turn it into a play car, which I think is interesting, because originally it's their trikes, but granted, I guess they couldn't have done that as easily with the animation, so I don't mind it being a toy car, but the idea is that, like, Lilo's coming, trying to make friends with these girls, they're making fun of her, Stitch steals one of their toys and goes, and, like, joyriding around the island. So, you know, here he's stealing a golf cart, he's destroying sandcastles. He's chasing chickens here. Doing that. I'm just looking at this little picture she's got here. And also, I don't know, again, the classic line from Lilo and Stitch is, Ohana means family, family means nothing gets left behind. This is a very classic line for Lilo and Stitch. The reason I don't like this moment in the trailer is because that is, like, the heart and soul of this particular franchise. However, it kind of became like a, almost like, may the force be with you sort of thing, where it became so, like, well known that it kind of became a little, like, the real meaning of it was lost. So I don't like the fact that this clip here, like, let's go back to regular speed here for a moment, just to play the clip again. Let's go back to normal speed. So, I do like that they have this scene after it, but in that scene, I really don't like the fact that, again, one of the biggest, like, clinching pieces of this movie, Ohana means family, family means nothing, nobody is left behind. The reason that's so important to the movie, for those who may not have context, is that Lilo and Nani are sisters. They lost their parents in a car accident. You know, one of the things of why, like, you know, Lilo gives a sandwich to a fish that she believes controls the weather is because the two of them went out driving one night. It was a bad storm. They ran off the road and they were both killed, which leaves behind like Nani, who was like, you know, is a teenager, I think, originally, and she's an older adult by the time like they were here, but like, you know, they're coming off the heels of like, she's over 18 because she, you know, she has custody of Lilo, but so, you know, Lilo tries to keep storms away by feeding this one magical fish because the storm was what took her parents away, and she's a little girl and she's trying to deal with this. And so Nani, who originally had her own life, we'll see if they in the actual movie they actually give as much backstory to Nani as they did in the original movie, but she has to essentially, like, you know, stop whatever she's doing with her life to now raise her little sister. And that's the whole idea, is that they're a broken family because of that. And so Lilo's like kind of grappling with that fact and trying to deal with that. And so that's why she knows she's acting out and stuff like that, because she's trying to deal with things that she can't entirely understand at being, you know, again, 5 years old, trying to deal with this, you know, immense like hole in her life now. And so that's why the whole Hana thing is so important. And granted, when that line originally comes up in the movie, again, it does happen in the scene, but the way the scene is structured worries me about where the heart of this movie is going to be at. It worries me immensely. Because in the original scene, I would look it up, but I'm afraid, like, that, you know, last time I showed, like, there were just, like, random clips of Puss in Boots in the background when I did the song React trailer, and I got, like, heavily copyright claimed for that, so I'm not going to look at it. But essentially what happens in the original scene is that it does happen in a kitchen. Stitch is brought home. He's being a menace. Nani's fed up. She says we have to take him back. And Lilo said, she screams, "What about Ohana?" And it's like, and then, like, you know, like Nani says, like, he hasn't been here that long, and Lilo shouts back, "Neither have I." And then she adds on, "Dad said Ohana means family." And then Nani, who is about to storm out the door, Stitch, take him back to the shelter, slowly closes the door, and Stitch kind of has this expression like he does now, where he stops and looks at her, and the scene slows down, and you can tell there's this big sadness between these two sisters that are like, it just stops Nani in her tracks, and she's like, I know. Ohana means family, means nobody gets left behind or forgotten. You know, and that's when, you know, like, you know, and then the scene lines up, because then, you know, she's like, I hate when you use Ohana against me like that, and then they just stick out their tongues at each other. But, like, the whole point is that it's like this phrase clearly has meaning and significance to them, and even Stitch, who's just entered the family, picks up on that because the mood immediately shifts. The fact that we're having that line in was essentially a comedic scene of him smacking Nani in the face with the fridge door is like, wow, now that undercuts any sort of emotional tension in that scene. Great. Also, the fact that we still have the Elvis music behind it, like, makes it the Devil in Disguise song. Like, that worked for some of the trailer, but also during, like, particular moments like that. I'm glad they cut it out for this scene, but, like, the music changes. But, like, the fact that it's still in that, like, I would have cut that music in in the previous scene, too, because it makes the whole thing seem really needlessly comedic. And the whole thing is that while Stitch is being a menace, Lilo uses that to stop her sister from throwing him out, and even Stitch, who was being a menace, mind you, he pauses for a moment to listen, because, again, he's an alien who has no memory, it's like no life, he's made to destroy, and he sees this moment where, like, again, all he knows is destruction and power and, you know, destroying things. He sees this thing, these magic words almost, that Lilo says that makes Nani stop, and he's curious about it. He stops in his destruction for just a moment to see what this magic phrase is that Lilo uses. And granted, after the sisters go back to, you know, bickering with each other again, he goes back to kind of being a little destructive, and Lilo takes him up to her room, and, you know, they hang out. But, like, that moment is really important and impactful in the film. And the way it's shown, again, fingers crossed, I don't want this movie to be horrible. I really don't. I say these things out of love, because I love this franchise so deeply. But fingers crossed that's not the whole scene. That maybe that's the second time when Lilo said the whole Ohana line. But the fact that she's saying the Ohana line, and one, it's not even focusing on her as she says it. Like, the way they did the camera angles originally, like, focuses in and points at this is an important moment, you should pay attention. the fact that it's kind of like saying it off to the side, and Lilo's not even saying it with the same sort of impact and emotion like she does in the original. She just kind of says it like it's a line. It's just words that she doesn't quite understand the meaning of, but she knows it gets her sister to stop. Like, yeah, that's more like how a child would behave, but also this is an animated movie. At least it was. You know, not everything has to be so dead sounding. And so they have this, like, moment. She says the line, Nani's responding to her, and then Stitch hits her in the face with the fridge door. For this stupid little slapstick cringe moment, where I'm just like, okay, there's one of the most beautiful moments in the movie, and you're screwing it with a joke about her getting haha funny, she got hit in the face, Stitch hit her in the face. Isn't that so funny, kids? Oh gosh, that insincerity, if it's in excess, like it has been in a lot of the other remakes, it's going to screw this movie. And it's such a good message. It's things girls need to know and be seen, and know that you can be weird. You can look different. You can play with funny dolls and not have to play with the Barbie dolls. Maybe you like playing with bugs, and that's okay. You can do that. Like, that's what Lilo taught me, like, to be weird, have your fixations and hyperfixations, and sometimes it's okay to play by yourself. As long as you have, like, one friend that understands you, but man, they have too much of that slapstick thing like that fridge scene. I am worried for this movie. Again, trying to be optimistic. This is a trailer. There's not too much. But again, I don't have a lot of confidence given what Disney's done in the past, where they'll be on the edge of something good, but they never commit to it, or they'll pull back because they don't want to offend anyone. And I'll just be like, oh, come on, guys. So this scene here, I do like the fact that they have, like, this. So here's the thing about Stitch. He looks so weird from a side profile. He looks fine from straight on. He looks so weird from a side profile. And I think it's because his nose is too small. Like, Stitch has a really, like, do I have a, like, I guess you can kind of see with my little angel and things. But you see, Stitch's nose, like, protrudes like an inch or two out from his face. Like, he has a large nose. Like, from the side, it's like a full, like, tomato. Like, he has a big nose. And his nose is so small from the... It's big from the front, but from the side profile, it looks so small. And his eyes look too far forward on his face. Like, the rest of him looks fine, but for some reason from the side profile, he just doesn't look right. Like, his eyes look way too far away from his ears. Like, he looks fine from the front. But from the side, he looks kind of weird. Anyway, so I'm going to go back on the slow-mo thing so I can look at this again at half speed. No, really. I don't mind him drinking the lava. Again, a lot of Stitch's behavior... See, he looks fine from the front. Just from the side, he doesn't look quite right. So this is the surfing scene. Like that. Fun fact, actually, before she had to, you know, kind of take on, like, a well-paying job and being, like, essentially a pseudo-mom, Nani was actually, like, a competitive surfer. She kind of gave up that whole athletic career to take care of Lilo. So, here's the thing. I think this is Cobra Bubbles. Now, mind you, I'm also very concerned about this, from what I'm watching. This might not be him, but I think it is. So, who's Cobra Bubbles in the original movie? He is a very intimidating, Men in Black looking social worker. His purpose in the movie is essentially kind of a pseudo-antagonist, because he's coming to check in on Nani from social services to see if she's properly caring for Lilo. Because again, you know, like, she's, like, you know, 18 or just over 18, and I don't know, maybe people are just, you know, they lost their parents recently within, like, the last year or so, so they're coming in to check on her, see if she's fit to take care of Lilo. And essentially, when he pops by, so Cobra Bubbles is kind of this antagonistic force, this realistic force, who means them no ill will. He's intimidating as all heck, obviously, because he looks like someone from Men in Black, mind you. That's kind of the joke of it. And that's why he's called Cobra Bubbles, is that his name is just Mr. Bubbles, but his knuckles say Cobra. So when Lilo shakes his hand, she's like, "Your knuckles say Cobra, Cobra Bubbles." And that's why he's called Cobra Bubbles. This, I think, is who that's supposed to be. Again, here right now, he looks like he's trying to be like some sort of like stalker secret agent thing. Like, you see him here, and you see him picking up like hair. You see him right here, like looking like. Again, I don't know if this is Cobra Bubbles or that's, because here's another thing we see here, is that we see these two guys here. Snow Cone guy, we'll talk about him in a minute. These two guys here, one of them turns into Pleakley here. So this tells me that Jumba and Pleakley are not going to be alien form for most of the movie, which, again, disappoints me a little bit. I kind of know why they're doing it, considering this is a live-action movie. It's fine. It's disappointing, honestly, but it's not something I'm going to drag them through the mud through. So let's talk about Cobra Bubbles here for a moment. So Cobra Bubbles, again, is this antagonistic force. I don't mean him, but he's not a villain. He's just an antagonistic force. Because at the end of the day, he presents the threat that if Nani cannot prove that she is a proper caretaker, he will take Lilo away and put her, like, in a foster system to be cared for by a better adult. He represents the danger of the family being split up, of Lilo losing the last family she has left. And that's the whole, like, one of the big subplots that has a lot of kick in it, especially, like, you might not notice it as a kid, but rewatching it as an adult, you definitely relate to it, where, like, the first thing is, like, Nani's trying to, like, keep a steady job, like, in the beginning, because of essentially a mess that Stitch makes, that, like, her sister gets in trouble, and Nani stands up for her sister, but she loses her job in the process. And so when, like, Cobra Bubble comes by the first time, he sees the house is a mess. Like, there's dirty dishes everywhere. There's laundry on the floor. Lilo has, like, boarded herself up. She's, like, put nails in the door to keep the door from opening. And, Nani's kind of, like, frustrated with her sister. So she, like, Cobra's coming in. He's like, "You left the house and you left your little sister alone unattended." He's like, he's just poking all these little holes in Nani's, like, system. And Lilo, who's young, and who has just gone through the worst day of hula school because the bullies were, messing with her again. She got sent home early because she picked a fight with a little girl. I don't know if they're actually going to redo that in the movie. I don't think they will. I bet you they will not. Because in the original one, Lilo gets in a fight with her main bully, Myrtle, who's, like someone who's, I hope they don't change what Myrtle looks like. The biggest thing about Myrtle is that, like, so the rest of the girls, they look like local Hawaiian girls. Myrtle and her family are clearly, they have moved here from another state or another location because they are pale-skinned, bright orange hair, and, like, she doesn't have a dad either. She just has her mom, who's actually a very sweet lady. But, like, they've moved from, like, out of state, and they live here. And so, obviously Myrtle's a bully because she has her own insecurities. Like, it was always kind of fascinating how you kind of dealt with the stuff like that, where, like, she was mean to Lilo, but, like, it wasn't, like, a mean, it was just, like, snotty little girl sometimes. And she's, got red hair. So, but, like, I hope they don't change that about Myrtle. I hope they don't I hope they keep that, because that was the whole point, is that Myrtle was herself, culturally, the outsider, yet she picked on Lilo as the outsider and the outcast. Which was, just an extra level of, like, twists there, So I hope they keep Myrtle as, like, this obnoxious redhead with thick glasses. Like, the typical nerdy... There's the mom/Olivia in the background again. Meredith thought you were mom because of your haircut.
Oh, a little. I'm surprised you don't think I'm Madeline.
I know, that's why I'm saying she looks more like Madeline to me. Yeah.
Anyways, continue.
But, is anyone else watching it downstairs?
Oh, I think Dad's watching it, yeah.
Oh, nice. But, Myrtle was, like, distinctively different looking. Like, red hair, big glasses. You think she would be the one being bullied, but she was the bully. And she led this posse of younger girls who truly didn't hate Lilo. But they followed the bigger leader, and they're little girls. They don't have, like, they have cliques, and so she put Lilo as the weird one out. Even though when you look at them visually, she's the weird one out. It's an interesting bit of visual storytelling. So I really hope that they don't change the appearance of Myrtle. I hope that they, like, keep that. But you can never tell these days. Appearances of some characters are not sacred. I still hate the fact that they made Scuttle a girl and Little Mermaid. I'm like, why? Why did you need to do that? You cast Aquafina as her voice is fine in the right world, but lately I've just been like getting very annoyed at her voice. Anyway, so Cobra Bubbles. Back to Cobra Bubbles before I get distracted. So essentially, the first meeting Cobra Bubbles has with Nani. I think someone's vacuuming in the hallway. I'm hoping no one can hear that. If they do, I'm sorry. I'm gonna wait for that to die down. I'll pet my umbrella in the meanwhile. Anyway, so, Cobra Bubbles, the first meeting he has with Nani, he gives this ominous warning. Again, he wears these black sunglasses. Again, big, imposing black man, bald. Like, he's the size of a door frame. He's a big guy. He looks way too muscled to be a social worker. And he just tells her, he's like, I'm the one they send when things go wrong. And then he goes and grabs the door that, mind you, Lilo nailed shut at the beginning of the scene. He yanks it, pulls all the nails out of the door, and he just whispers to her, and things have indeed gone wrong. And he says, essentially, he's like, I'm giving you 3 days. You know, when he meets her in the next scene. She's lost her job. And he says, I'm giving you 3 days to get a stable job. And prove that you can take care of this child. And he also says to Lilo, who's just gone Stitch, and Stitch, like, throws a book at his head and gets angry. And so, he says, like, you know, Lilo needs to make sure that, Stitch becomes a model citizen, aka stops being a menace. But the biggest thing, he poses an antagonistic threat, because every time Nani tries to get a new job, it gets messed up by Lilo and Stitch's shenanigans. And so, while it's a funny, like, scene, and, you know, you get to see Stitch being menacing, at the end of the day, Nani's just defeated. And, like, you know, Lilo senses that even though, you know, she's not said explicitly that she knows it's kind of their fault for messing up everyone for job interviews that day. And so, you know, like, Leo doesn't quite understand. She's too young to understand. But she does understand that Nani's stressed about something. She doesn't know yet that Cobra has threatened to take Lilo away. Nani's kept this information to herself. She also, you know, she mentions it, like, you know, David was her boyfriend, who she can't meet with as much now because, again, she's busy trying to take care of Lilo. She had to literally, like, put her whole life on hold, which is what made her such a strong character as well. I also, I definitely have related a lot to Lilo as a kid, but I also relate a lot to Nani in a lot of ways, like, even just as an older sister, just kind of, like, the idea of, like, wanting to protect your younger siblings, and just, like, be there for them, even if that means that, like, sometimes you're just, like, you know, that's hard. But, so, here's my issue with Cobra Bubbles right now. He's an important antagonistic force, and we don't know if he's going to still play that role in this movie. However, watching him watch them from a distance through binoculars, in this next scene, you see what looks like him picking up Stitch's fur, and then you see him again in his typical suit. Also, this guy, no offense to him, but he just doesn't look as big and intimidating. Like, as... This is the time you hire someone like The Rock. It doesn't have to be The Rock, but someone with that build. Like, he was a big, muscular man, barely fitting into his suit. And you're like, really? You're a social worker? That's your day job? Like, that was the funny part about it. This guy is just kind of small, honestly. But, and this looks like Jumba and Pleakley's ship, or at least part of maybe Stitch's ship. But, like, he's looking here. He looks like he's already in... Now, the twist is... Mind you, this is a twist they show you in, like, the last 5 minutes of the film. Is that Cobra Bubbles was originally a CIA agent. He actually handled the job in Roswell, New Mexico, and had first contact with aliens. So actually, when, like, you know, the aliens come back at the end of the movie to get Stitch, like, the Grand Councilwoman actually already knows who Cobra Bubbles is. And so, like, you know, he has a connection with her. Like, so he's, like, the Earth diplomat with the alien Galactic Federation. It's a really kind of funny twist at the end. Because, mind you, the whole story, Cobra Bubbles is just this social worker who you know is not evil, but he's the antagonist in a way because he wants to take Lilo away from Nani. And, like, you know, he even has the scene towards the midpoint where, like, he sees this whole, like, scene goes down where Lilo is almost drowned during essentially an incident that happens while they're surfing. And he goes with Nani, and he's just like, I know you're trying, but you need to think about what's best for Lilo. I'll be here to get her tomorrow morning. Like, essentially every test he's put to Nani, she's not impressed him. And he's determined that she's not fit to take care of Lilo. But that's the thing, is like, he's never necessarily mean. He's intimidating. He's scary. But, like, scary in the way, like, a 5-year-old would find. And by the way, Lilo's not afraid of him. She thinks he's cool, actually. But, like, he's scary in that way of just, like, he doesn't mean to cause this family to be split apart, but he is doing his job. And that's the best way. I remember when I was reviewing stories, like, for my fiction class, I wrote in someone's, like, comments for their story. Like, it was, like, the brief gist of it was this character had a detective journalist sort of character who's involved in a murder mystery, trying to figure out who killed her close friend. And the thing I gave her is that the two antagonistic forces she posed in that first draft was a coroner who was just a total Karen, and then this sheriff who was just had some personal bad blood with the journalist. And I remember telling her in my feedback, being like, your antagonist, you're like, this coroner and this sheriff are really mean. Like, they're too easy to hate. They're complete jerks to this lady who does nothing wrong to them, who's nothing but polite, or at the very least grieving around them. Yet they seem so very mean to her. You don't have to make them mean in order to make them a good antagonistic force. Cobra Bubbles in the original movie is a great show of that. He's not mean. He's doing his job, and he's doing it for what he thinks is the best for Lilo, this 5-year-old girl who just lost her parents. He wants what's best for her. And he's seeing Nani, who can't hold down a steady job, who's had Lilo in several endangering situations, who isn't maintaining, like, the bills, the house, or any of the things the child needs. And he sees, again, over his period of time of 3 days he gives her, he's not seen that she's a suitable parent. So he's trying to do what's best for her. Like, it's an intense problem, but it's also one that you don't necessarily think he's evil for. He's definitely a villain to Nani in a way, but, like, he's not evil. That's why he's so important in the story, in the subplot, is that it's a real world problem. We're busy looking at the funniness and the chase scene with Stitch and Jumba and Pleakley and the wacky zany stuff going on with them, but there's that real heart underneath, that real, like, adult problem underneath it all of, like, Nani's struggling to take care of herself, her sister, and maybe, like, losing her sister. The last family she has left. Like, there's a point where when Cobra Bubbles comes to take Lilo away, which, mind you, is after, like, the whole fight has gone down at their house. Jump and Pleakley have trashed the place trying to get Stitch, and, the house is on fire. So he's taking Lilo away in his car, and, like, and Nani's like, please don't do this, please give me another chance, and he's like, this isn't what she needs, and like, Nani starts pleading to him, being like, you take her away, she won't survive without me. And then Cobra Bubbles shouts back at her, pointing to the burning house, like, is this what she needs? Your house is destroyed, you have no job. You can't care for her. You clearly need her way more than she needs you. And, like, at that point, Lilo escapes the car and runs away, trying to find Stitch. But, like, it's a poignant moment, because you realize from his perspective, Nani has not managed to maintain a job. She's now one, but twice left Lilo alone. In one case where the house was literally burning down, and he sees this as a hazardous environment for her. Like, that, this child is in danger and needs to be put into a better system, even if that means breaking her apart from her original family. Like, you totally get why he's doing what he's doing. That's why I'm afraid again, we don't know yet, but based on the clips of which they show these, like, three little screenshots we see of him here and here and here, is that he doesn't look like he might still play his social worker role. But the whole point with Cobra Bubbles was that he was a social worker for the entire thing. He was an antagonistic force the entire movie. It wasn't until the end you realize he had any alien connections that was the reason he thought Stitch was strange. But, like, he wasn't like everyone else where, like, you sure that's a dog? Like, he was looking at Stitch weird. Like, he understood Stitch was an alien. He just didn't understand exactly what was going on yet, and he was, again, there really to do his job. He's a retired CIA agent. But like, and he's always in this suit, staring at a distance with his black sunglasses. He doesn't have his sunglasses here. Why doesn't he have his sunglasses? He just has regular glasses. That just kind of makes him look like a dork. Why doesn't he have his Men in Black sunglasses? This just makes this guy look nerdy. I wish he had black sunglasses. He could have glasses when he's wearing his like tropical shirt if he's trying to be more civilian looking. But why isn't he wearing his sunglasses here, man? Come on. I want you to be cool. Anyway, we don't really see anything. We just hear a line from him. But I'm like, if they remove the aspect of him that's the social worker that presented that like very real world threat to this struggling family, or worse, if they make it a minor thing and instead of have him being one of the people hunting after Stitch, that I would honestly hate that. Because that doesn't need to change. You have Jumba and Pleakley hunting after Stitch. They are the slapsticky part of the movie that presents the threat to Stitch. You don't need him hunting after Stitch too. If they turn... I don't know what this is. Again, this could be Stitch's ship or it could be Jumba and Pleakley's ship. If it's Jumba and Pleakley, that's fine. If he's hunting after Jumba and Pleakley instead, that I'd be willing to entertain. But if he's hunting after Stitch, that will just take time away from Jumba and Pleakley, who are the ones who are supposed to be... By the way, Jumba is his creator. Pleakley is an agent for the Galactic Federation. They're hunting after Stitch. But, like, I'm worried about this. One, he doesn't... This guy's fine, I guess, but he doesn't have the big, imposing, like, menace that the original Cobra Bubbles did. And I don't like that he's not at all seen in his social worker, like, stance here. He looks like he's a conspiracy theorist watching them from afar with binoculars. Cobra Bubbles wasn't doing that. He just happened to be watching because he wasn't watching for Stitch. He was watching for how Nani was handling Lilo. That was his main job. If he's too busy watching Stitch, or worse, if this social worker thing is just a cover to look for Stitch, I'm going to be very angry with the movie makers, because that's a change that did not need to happen and is only going to cheapen the overall family themes of this movie. Anyway, I'm going to leave that alone for now. I'll stop ranting about it, but just... And he was an interest... And then granted, in movies in the series after this, Cobra Bubbles was kind of like their alien contact. He would sometimes, when necessary, use his CIA relationships to help them. He even kind of comes as pseudo part of their Ohana. Like, they invite him over for Thanksgiving dinner and stuff. It's sweet. But, like, you know, and he, like, rebuilds their house after it gets destroyed, you know, essentially using the secret CIA funds and stuff like that. Like, he is a kind of cool secret agent uncle sort of way to Lilo, which I really like. But this just worries me. He's a good character, but again, is one of those ones that you have to play straight. You have to play menacing. Right now, he just looks goofy. Especially with the glasses, but especially in the tropical shirt with his little conspiracy bro, like, binoculars. I've already just seen a few too many moments where this movie's trying to be more slapsticky than it needs to be. And granted, maybe that's just what they're putting in the trailer because they're trying to make the little kids laugh. But I'm like, right now, I've seen one moment so far, which is her talking to him before the lava lamp scene, that makes me think this movie might have its heart in the right place. One scene. And then, so far, almost 2 minutes into the trailer. Okay, so that clearly is Jumba. Right there, you see him with... I don't know why the guns are white. That's... In the original, the guns are distinctively blue and... Not blue. Distinctly yellow with orange highlights. They make them bright and they pop. Sometimes yellow and black. I don't know why they're white here. And he seems like he has a teleporty gun. Now, this is Snow Cone Guy. Again, I don't know. He's fine. The original Snow Cone... So there's a running joke. Ice Cream Guy. There's this one overweight tourist. One of Lilo's hobbies is she goes and films all the weird tourists that visit the beach. And she takes, like, pictures of, like, the really overweight ones, the ones with bad suntans, the ones with weird hats. She has this, like, almost grotesque fascination with weird tourists. And so, like, one of the, like, recurring jokes is there's this one white overweight guy, bald, in sunglasses with this really bad sunburn, who he's always carried around a mint ice cream cone or a snow cone, and every time he tries to lick it or eat it, it always gets knocked off by something. Like, it'll get knocked off, he'll look at something and it'll get knocked off by a bird. Or he'll look down at his shoes and it'll fall off the ice cream cone. Or there's actually a moment where he's going to eat it and, when they're in the middle of a spaceship chase, the spaceship knocks the ice cream off his cone, and he just looks so sad, but it's a running gag throughout the entire series of, he never gets to eat his ice cream cone. This poor tourist. This guy looks like a local, though, which is going to kind of cheapen the bit, because that was kind of the funny thing. He's a random tourist. That's sunburned and, clearly having just a rough day. He never gets to eat his ice cream. But I get the joke is funny, though. I like the joke is in here. That's fine. But this is clearly Jumba and Pleakley here in some sort of human guise. Again, they have these... Now, if this is Pleakley's, human actor, I actually kind of like this, because this guy looks like he has Pleakley's energy. I want to go back and watch the original series with my new adult lens that sees the world in a lot more, colors of the rainbow, to put it that way. Because, again, Pleakley was the one who was always hiding. He is a guy, but, or at least he's a male presenting, but he's, was the one that, in this movie, there's a joke about how they're going around as a tourist couple, so Jumba, he has a wig, and he has, sunglasses to hide that he has 4 eyes. And then Pleakley has a wig, and he's pretending to be the woman in the relationship, and they hold throughout the entire series. So that's Lilo has her aunt, her uncle Jumba, and her aunt Pleakley, which mind you are both guys, but Pleakley would be the one who just dressing up in loved Earth clothing, didn't know how the heck most of it worked, so would put all 3 of his legs in one pant leg sort of thing. He liked dressing up in women's clothing and wearing wigs and. You could say that was either cross-dressing or, some, wanting to be a woman sort of thing. And, it was a funny thing. They never did anything with it. It was weird. It was just kind of a funny thing where, this is borderline gay couple right now. But it's here's the guy in the relationship, here's the girl in the relationship. And it was, it's a funny thing to go back and look and be like, man, some of the things you just don't pick up as a kid, and then you look back on, you're like, this is actually really funny. But... point being, just looking, this is the only casting idea right now I see that makes sense. Again, I don't know why he's taller, though, because I'm assuming this is Jumba, because this guy turns into Pleakley, which means this is probably Jumba. So here's the thing that I think is interesting, but I don't necessarily think is bad. Granted, would I love to see Jumba and Pleakley walking around in their natural states? Yes. However, I understand why they wouldn't do that. And I think the idea of them having clearly these, little... I'm assuming it's these little things on their ears. But having some sort of, because if you look here in a moment... And, he switches over into his alien form. Like that. Like that, you see? And he switches over to Pleakley. Again, I don't know why he's in these... Pleakley in his original one has this kind of diplomatic, it has the tassels off the shoulders. He has a couple medals on the side. He has a bunch of buttons. He's a kind of neurotic diplomat. The person who's kind of the person. He's the Earth expert. In the fact that he's always we have to. The reason that we have actually protected Earth as and the human race as because originally when Stitch lands on Earth they're just can we just gas the planet and get rid of him that way? And they're Pleakley's no, you can't wipe out the human race. They're a necessary food source for the local mosquito population, which is an endangered species. Which, mind you, it's a joke later that it was Copper Bubbles who convinced the first aliens that landed on Earth that the mosquitoes were an endangered species, so therefore they had to let the humans live and populate the Earth because they were the prime food source for mosquitoes. It's such a dumb thing, but So, Pleakley is this, again, this, kind of nerdy diplomat, never stepped foot off from behind the desk sort of guy. And Jumba is the mad scientist who created Stitch, so he's much more rough around the edges. He just wants to get the job done, because the sooner he captures Stitch, the sooner he gets set free from prison. And so he's more rough around the edges. Would I have liked to see them more in their alien forms? Yeah, but also they look kind of ugly because of the live-action animation, so this is honestly easier to look at. So again, I don't know why all the outfits look so bland. He just looks like he's wearing a blue pajama shirt. I wish he had more of the gold detail. Again, like with Stitch's uniform, I wish he had more of the gold detailing. But this guy, just with his face, I'm like, yep, that's Pleakley. He's definitely got those vibes. So I'm like, if they have to look like humans for most of the movie because they're using some sort of like illusion thing, that actually makes perfect sense to me. I'm actually okay with that change because that does make sense. That like before they wore like a wig and it was kind of one of those things where you're like, isn't that really obvious that you shouldn't be? Like people like there's a joke made at some point where like Pleakley's like head is swollen. Like when people see him, I'm like, oh no. She's like, don't worry. That's she's just. Jumba's like, she's just ugly, and like, but you know, you're like, yeah, shouldn't they be noticing that he only has one eye? Like, but I like the fact that because this means they blend easier. And this is the only guy so far that I've seen has like big enough expressions to match an anime movie. Whoever this guy is, that was the correct typecast. I haven't even seen anything about him, and already just from his one scene, I can be like, yep, that's Pleakley energy. And this guy, I don't know who he is, but he doesn't seem. I didn't see anything from him, but if that's who's playing Jumba, it looks fine. I don't know why he's taller. Jumba was significantly bigger than Pleakley. That was the other thing. There's a big difference in size between the aliens, but don't know why he's shorter here. He was significantly bigger than Pleakley. That's how he kind of throw him around and stuff like that. But I like the fact they're showing them here. And so I'll be interested again. Looks just kind of ugly. Gosh, the textures in live action look so much worse. But anyway, so Lilo and Stitch. Oh, is there anything else in the end credits to bring up? Okay, this is Stitch playing with a gun. Again. She expresses with her eyes, just not with her mouth. Now she's expressing with her mouth. And so that, you know, that's the scene where like there's a funny scene where like they try and like she tries to use a spray ball on Stitch, and then Stitch just throws the spray ball because he's like no spray ball because he's, you know, he's not actually weak to water. For oddly enough, like Sonic, he just has an odd weakness to water. It's actually he's just so dense that he'll immediately sink in water, and then, you know, drown obviously. But so he has this fear of water. That's why you see him with a little water floaties when he's doing the surfing scene. But like him in a little square, that's fine. But anyway, so this is the biggest thing you have to be careful with Stitch, which is what I'm a little bit concerned at here. So is that you see Stitch playing around with this thing. He's cute. He's tiny. He looks bigger in this scene though than he's been in all the other scenes. Is that like definitely shows Stitch being mischievous. I've only seen one scene so far though where Stitch looks like he's actually like he is a little menace, granted, but he's also like he has heart because he's like, you know, like the Iron Giant or something. He's learning to like essentially have a heart and find that there's something in the world besides destruction, which is the kind of the whole thing is that he's an outcast like Lilo. That's why they find each other and they matter to each other so much. And I'm gonna take my earphones out because I really don't need them anymore. But like he's, you know, that's the whole idea is that this little broken family of misfits finding each other. But so my thoughts about it. I think I've mentioned enough things in here that I've been like, I see good things in here. I don't see enough good things, and I see some things that make me concerned. Like I'm surprisingly actually analyzing this whole thing. I thought it was going to be like, admittedly, I think that from what I've seen in these scenes, Lilo and Nani's reactions are a bit stilted, and maybe that's because it's an animated character. They can't actually see Stitch. So reacting to him looks a little stilted. Perhaps in the final cut of the movie it will look better. Because again, this is a trailer. These might not be the final scenes. But I don't know what to I'm hoping Lilo's voice like actress does well. But at the same time, you just can't get I don't believe in child actors. Let me put it that way. There are very few instances where I've watched a child actor in a film and been like, wow, that was actually really good, or they really sold being a kid. Like, this just seems kind of stilted and like underreacting. And that's the thing. Lilo was incredibly expressive, and she was borderline vicious and rabid at times. Like, she had so much attitude and personality. Like, she could be muted at times, which, is shown here by, like, she also just had so much sass. That's how she was able to keep up with Stitch. Stitch is, mind you, like, insanely strong, virtually indestructible, smarter than a supercomputer. Like, he can definitely out with this little girl, but the fact that he has to stay with her because he essentially uses her as, like, a shield to keep Jumbo and Pleakley from coming after him, because they can't hurt any of the humans. They're not allowed to from the the Galactic Federation rules. They can't harm any humans. So he essentially is using her like a shield in the beginning, and then as time goes on, comes to actually find that he likes this family. He likes this feeling of belonging, and that he wants to actually stay with them. It actually becomes his family. But like in the beginning, he's using her just as a human shield. But she's willing to like roll with it, and even when he's being when he's being mischievous, she wants to join in with him. Or when he's being kind of a pain, she'll just kind of sass him back. Like, you never got the vibe that like he had the one up on her. Like, she kept up with him and was keeping him on his toes because he knew he couldn't do anything directly to her or Nani because that's his shield. So he being, again, that's the other thing. Like, I hope they show a little more is that Stitch has he never spoke, but you always tell he was very intelligent, just because of the way he behaved. So my biggest thing right now is that Lilo's actress, I think she looks right for the role. But the acting direction right now, which isn't her fault, that's more the problem of the directors, not especially when it comes to child actors. That's more the director's issue than it is the kids' fault for acting. Like, they have to direct them properly in what sort of emotions they're trying to pull out of the actor. She just feels like she's underacting in every one of these scenes. I don't really believe any of them, except for that one scene when she's talking to Stitch about about they're not families sometimes are a little messed up and stuff like that. Like, I don't really believe in any of these, except for that one scene that Lilo's being genuine. Every other thing she looks like she's underreacting. We don't see a lot from Nani, which again, that's fine. I would like to see more of her, but there's always time to do that in another trailer. Oh, hey! Easy. No, that's fine. I'm just ranting. Yeah, it has been a while. I've been just not on because I've been busy. I've been ranting and analyzing the live-action Lilo and Stitch trailer. So, Nani's fine. I haven't seen anything that I dislike about her. I just, again, hope that fridge scene is 1 in a million for this movie, because I do not want her to just, again, be slapsticked. I don't want any of the characters in this movie to be slapstick unnecessarily. A bit of both, I guess. I'm doing grad school classes. It's the spring semester for, spring for, our, preschool, so I'm subbing a lot. People just have been going in and out with sicknesses and appointments and stuff like that, so I've been subbing a lot. I've been doing grad school classes. The last week or the week before, I spent nothing. Whenever I wasn't working, I was writing for this class, which has been fun. I've enjoyed it a lot. I'm learning a lot about writing, and I'm developing a story that I might even go forward with after the class, because right now we're doing the first draft. We just have to write a chapter. But I don't know, from how much work I put into this this story concept, I might even write it into a full novel for my thesis. Who knows? But I've enjoyed it. It's just, it's been a lot of writing. Last week we had to do peer reviews, which wasn't necessarily hard, but that did take me a few days to work on because I write a lot and I try and put a lot into my reviews. But I like to really take the writing process, dig deep into the writing process. But then anytime I wasn't working on classes, I was crocheting. So I couldn't find time where I could go and do streaming, or I just was so tired I didn't come on. But the Lilo Stitch trailer dropped today. I feel like, as the Stitch super fan that I am, as I'm covered in Stitch merch and surrounded by it on literally every side, I had to react. Oh yeah, she's doing good. We're gonna do better because we're going to the beach for the weekend as a preschool retreat, so that'll hopefully be nice. Get a moment to relax. But, a lot of people are on spring break right now. But she's doing fine. We're just kind of hanging in there, getting to the end, getting to, you know. Yeah. Well, we are from where we are in the state, we're not very far from the beach. We're on the East Coast, so we're not far from where, like, North Carolina has a lot of nice beaches. So, you know, they have like this preschool thing where they have, like, you know, they'll do like a special trip, like, you know, every like half of the year. So, you know, and really what we do is we go to, from what I understand, you go to the house and everyone just kind of, you know, relaxes for several days before jumping back into school and all the other stuff. It's really just there to, the whole point of it is just getting away from everything and just not having to think about anything. So, I would love to like mountains. Unfortunately, nature hates me. In that, like, I attract all bugs, and I get irritated by lots of different plants, and I sunburn easily, and I sweat a lot, so I'm not built for the outdoors. I would love to love the outdoors, but the outdoors either hates me or loves me too much, depending on how you look at it. So, there's the bot. I was wondering when that was going to show up. They always seem to show up in, like, when I'm getting like the end of getting to like the latter half of my like stream after an hour or two. Is when the stream bots always show up. Anyway, so beach scene. So we watch. So again, this stuff with Stitch. Again, probably the things I thought were best was the stuff at the beginning with the, you know, stuff at the like, this looks nice. This is actually the thing I'm most impressed by. This looks like the 3D, to remind you that the original Lilo Stitch, I don't know if they did any 3D modeling to try and get, like, I think there was some 3D modeling in order to try and, like, make some of the, like, the bigger objects, or, you know, but, like, 2D looked almost just like this, so this is really close to what the original looked like. You know, this is honestly this part at the beginning with them, again, I don't know why he doesn't have all the yellow spots on his outfit. It makes him look a little bit more, you know, Grand Councilwoman there. She looks fine. But, like, the parts in space are actually the parts that I like the most so far. They're the ones that actually look the most interesting and colorful. They're the parts that I, like, think are, like, you know, they're like, oh, that actually looks pretty good. That actually looks pretty close to the original movie. A lot of the other stuff, not so much. Like, these look fine. I mean, that looks great. He looks cute in the right situations. Like, that's not a great thing. Again, I just whatever the director's telling that little girl to do, I just think she's just underreacting in every scene. Like, oh my gosh, Nani looks fine here, you know. You got her truck, that's nice. Stitch being a menace. Like, Stitch actually looks fine. This scene I hate. Like, the setting looks good. Gosh, he looks so weird. Can we just go on to how weird he looks in the side profile? Like, his face just isn't right. But, like, I hope that with further trailers, they'll show me something to more have hope with. But the thing is that, like, the Stitch can look right. He can move right. The setting can be perfectly made. It can have every important detail from the movie. But what makes this movie good is its heart, its story, its deep adult themes about things like, you know, like I said, the biggest thing with Cobra Bubbles is, like, you know, the idea of a social worker potentially taking away your little sister because they don't think you're a proper guardian. That's Nani's biggest fear the whole movie. Why she's so stressed, and she's busy trying to deal with, you know, she was just a big sister, now all of a sudden she has to, like, be her only parent, her caretaker, and trying to grapple with that. Like, that's a great storyline. I hope they don't diminish it at all. Like, you know, Cobra Bubbles being that, like, you know, the antagonistic force, but not an evil person, just in the fact that, like, you know, he's gonna split up the family, but he doesn't do that for any mean reason because he doesn't see her as a good caretaker, and you feel for them. I hope that they have the one hammock scene where they go sing Aloha Oi and be like, you know, have this, like, sad talk that Lilo doesn't quite understand why Nani is so stressed and sad because she's 5 and she doesn't understand because she's a kid. I wonder how old she is. She doesn't look 5. I wonder if they like aged her forward to be like 8 or something. Because by the end of the series, Lilo is 8. In the original movie, she's 5. But like, I wouldn't really mind if they aged her up a little bit. It's not a big deal. But like, this one scene is the one where like this scene in the entire trailer is the one where it makes me feel like maybe they could get the message right. Maybe they'll have the heart. But unfortunately, there's so many other just slapstick cringe moments in here, or like wild wacky things that make me be like, okay, maybe they're just putting that all in the trailer just because they're trying to make the kids giggle. But I'm like, if that's the core of the movie, if they remove parts of this movie to put in more like little funny moments like Nani getting hit in the face with a fridge door, or Cobra Bubbles following them around like some weird conspiracy theorist, like, then I'm concerned. The original movie already had a good amount of like slapsticky things. That's honestly kind of the reason Jumbo and Pleakley are there, is that they're kind of ridiculous. And they're trying to chase after Stitch, and they just are getting... Yeah, I think she's supposed to be like 8 or 9 in the movie. I think the actual actress is 10, but she's initially supposed to be 5 years old, but you obviously can't get someone who's 5 years old to act. But the biggest thing about these remakes, and I said them before with all the Disney live action remakes, if you're remaking it for a new generation, either spin it a new way, or don't change anything. Don't change it in little tiny ways where it didn't need to change. Like, the one change in here I've seen potential is the whole idea of like this, the whole idea of like the cloaking thing with like Jumba and Pleakley. That's actually kind of smart. It means that they don't have to animate these aliens the whole time, but also just because then they can go and be like, so I'm just trying to see a picture of them. That's pretty cool. Because then you don't have to animate these aliens the whole time. You can make them just be human actors. That's actually entirely fine with me. I think that's actually a smart change. Those sort of things are fine. But then there's stuff like, I'm afraid they're going to do the whole twist with Cobra Bubbles being a CIA agent is going to be his major part of his personality, instead of making him the very real, grounded threat of just a social worker that could split up Nani and Lilo. It's not extravagant, it's not supernatural, it's not alien-based, it's just a very real, grounded threat that, as a kid, you don't necessarily focus on. But then as an adult, you go back and realize, like, that's kind of the point. Are you seeing this movie through Nani's eyes or through Lilo's eyes? And I think that changes as you get older. That's the beauty of, like, a family movie versus a kid's movie, is that you can appeal to multiple, like, levels of awareness. But, I'm concerned that they're gonna screw up Cobra Bubbles, because he's a major part of that storyline. And maybe they won't, but just the clips they show of him here make him look like some weird conspiracy nut. And again, why didn't they give him his sunglasses? His sunglasses made him look so cool and intimidating, and he's kind of a small guy. I hope he looks taller in other shots than he does here, but Nani, honestly, I think is fine. I haven't seen anything that I dislike about her. I wish they let her have her hair down more often, just because I like the movement that gave her. It gave her this kind of frazzled, frenetic energy, because, she's stubborn, she's willful, she's strong, but she's also just so over her head trying to care for her little sister. And I like that. That was kind of a cool thing about it, is that her like longer hair gave her like had this volume, and it gave her like a lot of extra movement, because she's always chasing Lilo around. Lilo doesn't have nearly as much energy in any of these clips as I wish she did, because again, she's just as much of a little monster as Stitch is a lot of the time. Stitch's behavior seems right in this. He's still a little weird looking, just because I think he's a little too realistic looking in some scenes, but he's fine. Yeah. Biggest thing I'm worried about is just, it can look like Lilo and Stitch, it can sound like Lilo and Stitch, but it does not tell the story that Lilo and Stitch has always excelled at telling. Again, about these outcasts finding each other, about this creature made to destroy, and this little girl who's been outcast from, like, everyone, no friends, half her family is gone. She's the weirdo, the heavily autistic coded weirdo, that can't find any connection. These two essentially broken people lost souls finding each other, finding a kindred spirit, and like forging a family out of that. Like, that's the core about it. That's the real, magic of the Ohana line is, like, nobody gets left behind or forgotten, is, even when the person isn't there anymore, you don't forget them. You don't abandon someone because they're part of your family. Like, it's impactful. It's a message that people could definitely see to learn. It's definitely something that kids should see. I would love if this, people come to love Lilo again, because again, I have so much Stitch merch, but how many people like even remember Lilo? Like, I love to give Lilo a little more spotlight, but like, I don't know. Her actress just is fine appearance wise. It's just, I think whoever her like directing, whoever the director is, the acting coach, or whoever is giving her cues, she looks so muted right now. She's not big and expressive and energetic. I haven't seen that yet, so I'll be looking for that in any future trailers. Nani seems fine. They briefly show David. He seems fine. He's literally just surfer dude. But even then, he has his own depth. He's actually very, he's very kind to them and trying to look out for them in his own way. He was the true good guy, not a nice guy. He was a good guy. He just looked after them. Like, he knew there wasn't a lot he could do to help. And, like, he was dating Nani before, and then he has to leave that behind because, she has other things to do. She has to take care of Lilo, but he's still a good friend. Like, he tries to help them. He talks to Lilo, doesn't think she's weird. She's just like, okay, strange little girl, but that's fine. I've seen weirder things. I'm a fire dancer, and I breathe fire and stuff like that. At the time he catches himself on fire. He's the kind of, again, there's a lot of funny characters in here. They want slapstick humor. There's a lot of funny characters to do that with. I'm just hoping they don't go too far without Stitch, because he's a little monster, but he's a little monster with a heart. Like, he's something that was made to destroy. And then he learns to do something else. He learns what it feels like to have a family. Like, it's what makes the final scene so impactful, and I hope they don't forget that with all the other fun stuff that's, fun to put in a trailer and show him being, like, a little gremlin, but, like, he isn't a monster at the end of the day, like, he's just, like, a little outcast, like, he's the ugly duckling. I wonder if they'll bring the ugly duckling, book into this, because that's a very cute, very important part of the story, like Lilo is, and that's why they find each other, and they're comforting in each other. I see things that have potential. I see one or two things I even liked. I've seen at least 3 things that make me worried, and I'm still like not on board for this movie. I still have seen nothing that makes convince me I want to watch it. But, I want to be optimistic because I do love this franchise so much. It is, like, literally shaped my life in so many ways. And I want the best for it. I just don't know if that is realistically going to happen. But we'll see. So anyway, yeah, that's probably I'm not going to go on any more than that. Oh, man. I want this movie to do well. Not do well financially, mind you. Every Disney movie does. They can ship out crap and people go and find it. They've done that with Lion King, prime example of it. Not even a good movie, and it broke the box office because Lion King nostalgia. But like, I want this one to be the first, if it can be. I would love for this one to be the first Disney live action remake that finally got it right. I would love to be wrong. I would love to go and see this movie, on streaming or something. I'm not going to see it in theaters. Disney fans are weird. And I'm part of the Sonic fandom saying that. They're just kind of intense. But, no offense if you love Disney, just... I got like a social bar I can reach, and then like even around Sonic fans sometimes that's just too much. But like, I want this movie to do good. I want to be wrong about it. I want to go and watch it and eat my words and be like, wow, they actually got it right. They got she feels like, characters all feel alive and expressive, and like they have all the heart and the messaging is still there, and wow, this is like, you know, gives me, either at the very least, even if this isn't as good as the original one, it at least feels like a good follow-up to the original. I love to be wrong. I really would love to be wrong. Because I don't think this is necessarily horrible. Not at this stage. But just, history has shown that somehow Disney with these remakes makes them even more soulless than the other ones. And it doesn't seem like it has the other problems that like things like, you know, Little Mermaid did. The colors are not bad. It's not like a blue and gray haze. Like, the beaches seem vibrant. Maybe this is just because they're shooting in Hawaii, which is a naturally colorful place. But, like, beaches seem vibrant. They have colorful outfits on. I wish Stitch was more blue, but that's fine. Like, it doesn't necessarily look like it's stuck in a grayscale like all the other ones have been. But, I would like it to be at least decent. And honestly, visuals are nice. Acting is nice. Sets are nice. The thing that will make or break it for me is, will they pull another Mulan and completely miss the point? The reason everyone hates the Mulan movie, even if they wanted to go and make a more realistic version of the Mulan legend, if they wanted to follow the Chinese folklore closer to the level, they wanted to make it more serious, they didn't want to put the songs in because they didn't want it to be a musical anymore. That would have been fine. The reason people hated it is because they completely missed the message. And they made it with one simple change that obliterated the entire movie. Was Mulan was born special. She was born with special ninja powers. Therefore, she was able to be the best of the best and beat everyone. And it was the power move to reveal her true self as a woman instead of being a man. When the real message of Mulan that so many girls, and even not girls, connected to, was she was out of her depth. She was in a situation she was not built for. But because of her tenacity and her cunning, she was able to succeed. She was able to learn. Granted, slower than some of the other men were because she wasn't built for that role. But she learned through her own wits and her own stubbornness, was able to succeed and even supersede her peers, becoming like, you know, it wasn't just her growing better. It was her and her entire squad grew better. They were the worst, like, bottom of the pile, and they became some of the best soldiers in China, you know, like, Mulan couldn't win the game when she was playing by the other men's rules, so she played by her rules instead. She figured out a way to make it work for her. She had to work hard, and she failed a lot. She pretty much gets kicked out of the army in the one song and, you know, like, Be a Man. Like, there's the one verse where she's pretty much getting kicked out because she's doing horribly. But it is until she starts looking at things differently, she starts doing things in a way that works for her, instead of just trying to follow everyone's expectations. That's what's so powerful about her, is that she, among the other men, she figured out how to be the best in her own way through hard work and patience and cunning. You know, leveraging her own personal strengths that she had but no one else in the army did. She was not just born with special magical kung fu powers where she could just suddenly be better, and the reason her struggle was trying not to be so special and perfect all the time. I'm like, that's what screwed the Mulan movie. A lot of things screwed the Mulan movie, but a serious tone would have still worked with the original Mulan story, because the second half of the movie is quite serious. That's why the music number stops, because they're in the middle of a war. It's serious. There's dead bodies everywhere, you know, like, it gets dark. And they missed that. They fundamentally changed the one detail about the movie, and it ruined the entire message. It undercut any strength that Mulan has as a character. It removed any sort of power and respect and authority and, like, vulnerability and relatability that she had, to the point where she was just wooden perfect girl. And I just really, 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 really hope they don't do that to Lilo and Stitch. Because that's what I'm saying. The setting looks honestly great. A lot of the set dressing I'm actually pretty happy with. The areas look bright, and they have a lot of details from the movie. So clearly they are paying attention, which makes sense. Chris Sanders himself is helping direct this movie. So, I mean, I'm a little hopeful for that. like he had a really unique art style. So at the very least, the set directing is looking good. I'm not really impressed by any actors so far besides the guy who apparently is playing Pleakley, but like that can be shown in like that could be different outside the trailer. Sometimes trailers are just bad representations of their movie. So who knows? Maybe the acting in the actual movie is good. And like Stitch honestly looks fine. He looks weird from a semi-profile, but he honestly looks fine. He's not uncanny valley weird. He's a bit too realistic looking for me, and I would like him to be more blue, but he honestly is fine. But the thing that will immediately cut this thing's knees out from under it is if they don't follow through on those heartfelt themes of being a broken family, of struggling and doing your best but still not quite making it, of, you know, being the odd one out, the outcast, the neurodivergent one among the neurotypicals, the, you know, trying to find your place in the world. Like, these are important themes this movie nails. And I just hope they don't pull another Mulan where they change some random little detail somewhere that somehow manages to undercut all the strength this movie has. I hope it still goes. Granted, they have Chris Sanders, so maybe they will still have the sincerity the original movie did. I would love to be wrong again. I would love to hope this movie can. It's not going to be as good as the original. There's no way it can be. But I hope it can at least be a good movie. It can be like, I like the Beauty and the Beast live action movie because I actually think it is still an entertaining movie. You know, don't think it does all the same things the animated one does, but I think it does enough different. And like the Maleficent movie, I think that one does. I greatly prefer though for Sleeping Beauty, just because Sleeping Beauty is kind of boring in my mind. But like it does something different and, you know, new. So I'm like, as long as this one can at least be a good movie on its own merits, then I'll be fine. I would love for this one to be the turning point for the Disney remakes, the one that finally does it right, that finally gets it right, and is a good movie that they'll be like, yes, now that is a way to connect this old title to the new next generation. And I want to be optimistic. I want to end on a positive note tonight because I see it's getting late and I probably should be getting ready for bed probably. But I would love to be wrong. I would love this movie to actually be good. But I officially have just seen some things that I think are good, a lot of things I think are okay, and some things I'm really worried about. But I guess we won't know more until there's another trailer. And if and when it is another one, then I'll probably watch and react to that one too. But like right now, it's not a movie I would see. I will say. The only thing that I have positive feelings for right now are nostalgia, really. Are the things I know the original movie did well, so if this movie does well, this movie might be okay. But right now, under its own merits, I cannot say there's anything that I'd be like, oh, great, looks nice. I'm just like, there are one or two things I think are cute, and one or two things that get the Stitch nerd in me to be like, oh, look at that detail from the original movie. It's like, but there's like 2 details so far I've seen that I'm like, oh, nice. Most of it's just like, well, it's a live action remake. I guess it's doing its best right now. So, I don't know. Love to hear everyone else's thoughts. I hope everyone enjoyed this. I try not to do a very long stream tonight again. My throat's kind of sore right now. Probably from like air, but I just want to come on and react to this. And yeah, next week I will try and get back into a normal streaming schedule. Again, I've just been trying to get over the hump with these classes. And I think I might have a little bit more free time next week, so I will try. I wanted to get into like the Pokemon Nuzlocke this week, but then I get so tired at the end of the day. Sometimes after like working and doing my business stuff and everything in classes. So I want to try and get back into the Nuzlocke at least next week. And I think in order to get myself back into things, like I said before, I want to do a reaction compilation, again another reaction kind of like this, to all the Star Rail trailers. I did for Genshin Impact. I'd like to do it for Star Rail. I've been thinking about it a lot. I just need like 2 days to do that, and preferably not at night, because I get tired at night. So I think I might try and do that next week, if anyone's interested. I would like to do Pokemon Nuzlocke and maybe Star Rail reaction trailers. No, that I think would be fun. And then after that, for playing games, Oh no, we'll see what we do for that. Might just be some crochet streams. Always got more stuff to make. But thanks for anyone who stayed here and tuned in and hung out or just listened to me in the background or, you know, whatever you did. Hope you found this interesting. I tried to be as positive as possible. I didn't rant as much as I thought I might, so I suppose that's not too bad. But yeah. Hope that you enjoyed our discussion for tonight, and I'll most likely probably see you guys on here at some point in the next week. So, thanks for hanging out with me.